And here we go. Good morning, everybody. Jim Feist, Andy Isco from Las Vegas. It's it's not the last show of the Dom DeMarco show. It's the last one we're going to be doing like this. Next Wednesday, we go live from Dom DeMarco's, and we'll be doing that all the way through the Super Bowl and even longer than that, perhaps. Um, so
Probably through March Madness, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Next week, we're going to have Tom Canale, the host. He's the host. I'm the host. I'm right there on the panel. We're going to have Crackman, which Bill Krackenberger. Right. They call him Crackman. And we're going to have Steve Fezzik on the show. So
two of the best.
Yeah, we got some good people. Andy, we're going to have to schedule you in to come to the show. I said to Albert yesterday, problem with Andy is he's so damn busy.
Right now it is. Once I get into the routine of putting my newsletter together, updating all the stats and everything, it's Wednesday is almost like my weekend to a certain extent, because it's probably the one day where I have fewer deadlines. I usually get my newsletters out Wednesday morning to early Wednesday afternoon. So that's basically all the work that I do between, really late Saturday when the college scores and boxes start coming in, through Monday Night Football, which is gathering the information and assembling things for the following week. Wednesday is sort of like my exhale day.
How many years have you been doing this, Andy?
I want to say 1982, 1983. So it's been 40-something years. The last 30, now it's 36 years. This is my 36th season in Las Vegas. And I'm going to continue my perfect record of never having missed a Westgate Super Contest entry. I'm not quite so sure what will happen to that contest next year now that Caesars has basically taken over in a partnership operation of the Westgate Superbook. Westgate now uses Circle Lines for their betting and everything, but they're still maintaining administration of the various Superbook contests, but don't know if that'll continue next year. But I want to worry about this year first. We still have 18 weeks to be concerned about.
There's a lot of new things happening in Las Vegas. Some of them interesting, some of them not. Some of them good, some of them not so good. There's been a tightening on allowing people to play if they play and win.
Yes.
So that's been a kind of a negative.
That's always been around, but not to the extent that it's been, let's say, in the last few years.
That's right. I mean, I had a guy the other day bet $5,000, asked to bet $5,000 on a game, and they allowed him $50.
50.
50.
Not even 500. So they decreased him by 99%.
Yeah, the day before he made a $5,000 bet and won, came back to make another $5,000 bet, and they said, you're cut to $50.
Oh, that's really smart of the book, because now it takes a $150 bet for them to recoup the $5,000 that they just lost the day before. That's really smart.
They don't look, obviously they're not looking at it that way. They're saying, you're a winner, we don't want you, basically. And this is stuff that's going on. I don't think anybody covers it as well as Bill Krackenberger does.
Yeah.
He has, I think he's, what's the name of the website? His podcast is Crackman, or no,
Right.
Wisecracks.
Wisecracks. With a K.
With a K, yeah.
Kracks.
Yeah.
I believe it is.
And he covers it really well. We'll talk a little bit about that next week.
He's sharp in many, many ways, but most importantly, streetwise.
Very streetwise, and he has a million connections.
Yeah.
He really does. Everybody knows him. Everybody respects him. Anyway, Andy, we've got some preseason games going on in the NFL this week.
Mm-hmm.
And is there anything that we've seen so far, whether it be from coaches, players being hurt, not playing, players that haven't been playing, that are going to play this week, that you can share with us, with the audience? for this
I
week?
don't have a list, but it's the number of injuries, especially season-long injuries, that continue to happen in preseason. And it's not always in these games; it's in practice very often as well. The Raiders, were troubled by an injury that Aston Genty suffered the other day. It's not as bad as they thought initially. I think it was his ankle, if I recall. That looked like it could be more serious than it's turned out to be. But that's that's a significant part of what you've got to be aware of during preseason. I don't really care so much about the overall performance. Well, first of all, the team's records mean nothing to me. The points scored, you score 40 points. That doesn't mean anything because they're mostly backups that are doing it. Players who, if they're not going to be cut, they're going to be second and third, or maybe third or deeper on the depth chart. But I do take a look at some of the decision making of some of the coaches who are in there for the first time. I think the biggest decision we've had so far is Todd Monken of the Cleveland Browns naming DeShaun Watson the opening starter. Now, apparently a lot of it has to do with things other than his post-game press conference and his general performance in the preseason game over the weekend. We don't know the whole lead up throughout the spring practice, the OTAs, etc., training camp, etc., but he made what many considered to be a controversial choice. But at the same time, he made a choice that if he turns out to be wrong, it's not going to be all that difficult to replace him with Shedeur Sanders, because the Cleveland Browns open the season with 2 straight road games. So there'll be a lot less pressure in one respect on Watson, because he's not going to be, because you got to believe, unless they are 2-0 and outscored the opposition by 17 points per game in the first 2, that if he starts game 3 at home, he's going to be booed after the way he treated the fans in his post-game press conference. He sort of apologized later, but I'm sure he did not write that speech himself when he did the press conference yesterday after being named the starting quarterback. Although you do have to wonder if Shedeur Sanders is not going to ultimately be the starter at some point due to performance rather than external factors.
Well, Watson is, boy, I'll tell you, you go back, what, 5-6 years, and with all the 27 women that claim this and that. And he's not popular. I don't think he's going to be popular in any stadium he plays.
No, they're going to keep track of 3 stats: touchdowns, interceptions, women's dated.
Anyway, we start off on Thursday. We've got 4 games actually, and then Friday, and we'll end the preseason. I'm not going to get too much into analyzing the preseason because it comes down to really late information.
Yeah.
But then we open the season on.
By the way, a lot of that. Let me see if I get the camera back on here. But a lot of that has to do with also the results have not always been as good as the late moves would have expected to have been this preseason.
Well, actually, they've been horrible.
Yeah.
The 3-point or more moves last week. This is really incredible. Now, I didn't check. That was through Saturday or yeah. We're 1-10-1.
Wow, I didn't realize they were that bad.
It was horrible.
Now, by the way, when do you consider to be a late move? Is it like you could take a look at the line 48 hours before kickoff, as opposed to what the opening line was on Monday?
Well, I just look at the opener versus the close.
Yeah.
3 points, 3-point move or more, 1-10-1.
Wow.
No matter when it came in. But, during the regular season, of course, I know how to track the sharp money versus the square money.
You know not just what the smart money is, but when it comes into play.
Yes,
which
pretty
is
much.
more as important as where it's coming from.
There's always money that's going to come in from La La Land that you have no idea who it is. It's just somebody with a lot of money, and you don't know if that's sharp money or just a lot of money. And so you don't whether to give it a respect. So if I don't know who's playing it, as far as I'm concerned, it doesn't mean anything because I can't determine that. Some people.
The one non-sophisticated way of that, and it takes a lot of work. You got to be staring at a screen. But when you see books move, when you see numbers move, let's say on a Thursday across the board within 5 minutes of each other, I would think that's probably sharp money doing that.
That's absolutely true. If you see it only in one place,
doesn't mean anything.
Then it doesn't
mean anything. Yeah.
It means something, but not to the degree that you just explained. If it
Yeah.
moves across the board, look out. That means
Because that's other bettors taking advantage of the information, or books moving because they know the original source is a sophisticated bettor.
correct.
So the
Correct.
books move the money, but they move on air, as they say.
We do open the season with the Super Bowl again. New England
Yeah.
at Seattle. And the opener was Seattle 4. And at this point, it's 3.5 everywhere. So
Yeah.
there was some New England money. Of course, I don't know how much you go back to the Super Bowl and say, that was representative of what we're going to see this year.
Well, remember these two starting running backs from that Super Bowl team. Walker's now with Kansas City, and Charbonnet, I think, is still, we don't know when he's going to start. So those are two key players that are not on the Seahawks. At the same time, A.J. Brown now on the Patriots.
All true. How does it
So I can
mesh?
understand why the line is as low as it is.
How
Because
does
remember,
it mesh?
Super Bowl was neutral.
How do the players mesh? How's the chemistry? There's so much that you don't learn in the preseason because they don't play all the players. They don't play them all at the same time. And it's really it's a little bit of a crapshoot week one. A lot of people are very scared of week one because they really don't know what they're going to expect. I mean, you look at the next game, which is on Thursday, the 10th. The Rams in San Francisco play in Melbourne, Australia.
Yeah.
Now that's a hell of a trip. That's, if I'm not mistaken, that's about a 14 to 17-hour flight, I believe, to get there.
Unless there's really not much of a place to fuel up, refuel, unless maybe you stop off for an hour in Hawaii and do it. But that's only a small. I don't know how far Hawaii is between, let's say, the west coast of the U.S. and Melbourne. Is it halfway? Is it 1/3 of the way?
Are you saying that there is no way that they could fly that far direct?
They probably could, but I'm not sure what the fuel capacity is for. For that.
I can't imagine that they have to stop, but you could be right. I've never been to Australia. I've never been to that part of the world.
Actually, if I was a player or an organization, I would like to stop for an hour or two and not sit in a plane for 14 hours or 12 hours or whatever it might be.
It's a long grind. I'd like to know when the players actually go, because getting there and acclimating to the time and everything else, the environment, all that makes a difference. If you flew in the night before, I would say you'd really be negatively affected. If you flew in the week before, it's kind of a little bit of a vacation. And
remember, you have that extra time because there's no games the week before the opener.
That's correct.
Yeah.
So anyways, right now at this point, San Francisco who's losing the home game? Is that it has to be the Rams, right?
I believe so. Let me see if I can check.
This is one of the unfair things. I mean, you play at home.
It's not only unfair, it's stupid because you're taking away a divisional game.
Yes.
A divisional home game. That's the stupid part of it.
I don't like it at all. Actually,
especially that's let me see who it is, because they San Francisco neutral, and then the rematch is at San Francisco. So it's a Rams home game that is being given up. That's like the league they're giving the middle finger to the Rams fans. Yeah.
They're giving home game. The fans lose the home game. Now, how do they compensate the fans? I'm not going to get into that, but
that's what I'm saying. But they're giving the middle fingers to the fans in two ways. Number one, they're taking away a home game from their season ticket package or whatever. And number two, it's a divisional home game. And I'll throw in number three, it's a team that they're going to be contending with for the division and the conference title. And you give up that game, and obviously both teams are going through the same travel situation. But I would like to see the NFL, in their infinite idiocy, probably won't allow it. They should not have division games at other than the home team of one of those two teams. They should not have a neutral site game between division rivals. Absolutely not. Those games are too important.
I agree. Totally agree. The interesting thing here is we think of the Rams and San Francisco as competitive teams in the division.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a
Along with
division
Seattle.
game. But the Rams are 3.5-point favorite on a neutral field. Even a 4-point favorite if you look at different spots.
Books, yeah.
On a neutral field, this is definitely a neutral field. They're 3.5 or 4 points favorite, which means at home they would be something like 7, 6.
Possibly. That's what doesn't make sense here. Now, part of it may be to some of the injuries that the 49ers have. For example, we don't know if George Kittle is going to be playing in the opening week game in Australia. You know, he's coming off of that bad injury, and they may want to give him some rest. So he may not even make the trip for the Australia game. And that might be indicated. In other words, if we see this line at 4, 4.5, let's say, or 3.5, 4, if that line starts to go down, it may be an indication that Kittle, who's such an important part of that offense, even though they have depth, I think overall, I think the general consensus is the Rams have the better balanced offense. And then again, the other thing is, will Aaron Donald play? Okay, will he? There's a lot of talk, and it's looking more and more that he will suit up for the Rams, and be teamed with Myles Garrett on that defense, and that could be another reason why the line is slightly what appears to be inflated. I happen to like this San Francisco team this year quite a bit. I like their balance. I like both sides of the ball. I like what Shanahan has done in putting the offense together. So I think that these teams are a little bit more even on a neutral field than this line suggests.
I would have to agree. I think this is the thing is it opened 2.5, and we do see places with 4. So there's a lot can happen between now and the 10th of September. So I'm not going to make a selection, but I agree with you. That seems like too big a number.
The side I would like to play would be San Francisco. But what I want to also find out is, when do these teams get over there? How much experience do the two head coaches have? I haven't looked at that part yet, in coaching overseas. But then again, Australia is a totally different animal than playing in Brazil or playing in Madrid or playing in London or Dublin or wherever they may play. Australia is, that's about as far away from the West Coast as you can get. It's only about a 4 or 5 hour flight difference between when the West Coast goes to the East Coast. But now you're talking about going, further west, like I say, probably, 10, 12,000 miles, whatever it is.
I think this is like, somewhere in the 12, 13, 14 hour flight.
Yeah. And we don't know how teams, because remember, when you're flying from San Francisco to Brazil, you're not flying that far. I think it's maybe 2 time zones, if that. It may not even be 2 time zones. But, when you're talking about, let's put it, it's going to be 5 p.m. Pacific time, Thursday night, and it'll be, I think, like 10 a.m. Melbourne time when the players take the field. So that's a lot of an adjustment. And who knows who's going to make the better adjustment, because we've never had a team have to travel that far for a game. So, if the Rams come in 4 or 5 days earlier and the 49ers come in, 2-3 days earlier, maybe that's an advantage for the Rams. And maybe they'll already been out there somewhere, but maybe that's the information also influencing it. But it's still guessing, because we don't know how these players will react. We have a little bit of a data size because of the Europe and South America games. But again, those distances that these teams have to travel, not nearly as far as going to Melbourne.
There's this is a full card of this week. You go to September 13th, you got the Cleveland and Jacksonville, Tampa, Cincinnati. We've had a little bit of movement in some of the numbers, but not a lot. Mm-hmm. And then again, we do have the time between now and then and the injury issues that have been consistently happening. Who's coming back? Who's going to get hurt? Who's going to be out? Things like that. And then we have the cuts. Who's going to get cut?
And who's going to get picked up and by whom?
Exactly. Right. Everything can change. There's some backup quarterbacks out there that might be starting quarterbacks with other teams. So
And there will be many starting quarterbacks in week one who will have seen perhaps none or maybe a quarter of action, if that, in these 3 preseason games.
I mean, not every game is super interesting. I mean, from a contender standpoint, I mean, Tampa is a contender in their division, and Cincinnati's a contender in their division. Cincinnati opened 2.5. It's 3.5 or 4. They're at home. I can't go through all these games because it's going to be too much time. I find this one interesting. Buffalo's at Houston.
Very interesting.
That's very interesting. You have Buffalo with a lot of changes they have player changes, but they also have coaching changes, a lot of them. And this is very interesting. It opened Buffalo 1.5 at Houston. And Houston arguably last year had the best defense in the league. Now, we don't know about Stroud because he really went mental in that last game that he played against New England.
But they have helped him with some of the offensive acquisitions they made during the offseason, especially getting Montgomery, the running back.
If they can help his mental,
and they got picked up another. Who did they pick up? I think it was Booty.
Yeah, they have some additions. The questions I have with him is his confidence level, because he really cracked up in that game. It was pretty bad. And you or I could have played better quarterback than he did.
At least till our first hit.
Pardon me?
At least till the first time we got hit.
Well, once we got hit, we were dead. Yeah. But Buffalo opened 1.5, and now we're seeing a lot of.
If we're in that game and we get hit, they don't bring out the cart; they bring out the coffin.
we're seeing some mixed feelings here on this one.
Yeah.
Kalshi and Caesars both have Houston 1.5. Circa has Houston 1. And there's definitely other sides. Basically it's a pick'em game. Okay,
I thought
1.5.
I thought based upon just the overall strength of the Houston defense playing at home, and of course they played last year, and it was that kind of game. It was at Houston, and it was Buffalo. Let me see what the line was. Buffalo was 4.5 on the road. This was around the 2/3 part of the season, and Houston won 23-19. And let me see what the yardage was there. I believe the yardage was let me see. It was 326 to 261, Houston. So I would have thought, given Houston's continuity on defense from last year to this, as far as the roster goes, and the additions they made on offense, and Buffalo, which has some concerns again this year on defense, I would have opened this game pick 'em, and you could have even made a case for Houston to be a 1-point favorite.
I agree with the latter part of that. I think Houston needs to be the favorite in the game. Not by a lot. 1.5, maybe at the most, maybe 2. You definitely have an edge at quarterback for Buffalo. There's no question about that. I mean,
yes,
Stroud is not, Allen. Other games, there's a lot of other games. Of course, is there anything of significance? I mean, a major. Real contender.
Well, we've got the situation with the Falcons now. We don't know if Penix will be cleared to play in this final preseason game for a little bit, or if Tua is going to get the start right at the beginning of the season. They opened the season at Pittsburgh with Aaron Rodgers, etc. Steelers, I think I'm seeing 3s pretty much there.
And you got some juice on the 3 also. So it's
which way?
It's Pittsburgh -15, -20.
Okay. Oh, okay. So it is favoring Pittsburgh at the 3.
Well, I mean, you do have a monster edge at quarterback experience,
even at that age. But remember, you also have the McCarthy-Rodgers connection for all those years.
Yeah,
so there's great familiarity.
You got to look at the Pittsburgh offense is a little bit different than what you saw a year ago.
Yes,
they have some strength on offense that they didn't have a year ago. So
Pittman.
if Atlanta is suffering at quarterback, and it sure looks like they are, this could be. They could be telling you in the line right here that this is Pittsburgh's the right side of this game.
Yeah, the expectations for Pittsburgh are somewhat down this year. Remember, they haven't had a lose. They did not have a losing season in the 17 or 18 years that Tomlin was head coach. It's going to be a different culture. Some of the old speeches, just like with Baltimore, with Harbaugh, who was there almost as long. I mean, it was either 1 year more or 1 year less than Tomlin at Pittsburgh, Harbaugh with Baltimore. So there'll be a new culture developing in both of those locker rooms as far as the long sustained success that both of these teams have had. Atlanta, now the one thing that Atlanta does have, and I don't know how significant it is, but I think it's something to be considered, and that's Stefanski, who used to be with Cleveland, had a modest degree of success in his games against Pittsburgh. So he probably has a pretty good idea, even from the roster from last year that McCarthy is taking over, of how they were able. Now, of course, they don't have Myles Garrett, but they do have Verse, who came over in the trade with the Rams. So maybe there's that, to me, that might be a low scoring game because of the uncertainty at quarterback for the Falcons, but at the same time, the knowledge of Stefanski of both the offense and defense of players, not necessarily schemes, although we'll see how much they change, of the Pittsburgh Steelers. So that could be, they played 2 years ago, and I want to say the score is like 18-16 opening of the season. I wouldn't be surprised.
I don't know how Atlanta is going to score. If their quarterbacks are as inefficient as they've been so far, it's going to be difficult. Pittsburgh is not the defensive team that it used to be.
Right.
But now, they have new coaches now on the offensive side. They got better weapons for Rodgers. And last year's Rodgers was not that bad. He definitely is not mobile. You can go after him, and he can't move around like he used to, but he does have an arm. He's very accurate.
And McCarthy is an innovative play caller.
Yeah, this unless Atlanta can solve this quarterback issue, because they do have a good running game.
Oh yeah, Bijan Robinson, maybe the best in the league.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's a big problem for Atlanta. They got to solve that quarterback issue, and I don't know how they're going to do that if these guys are actually hurt. And then you get down this list. There's some. Well, I tell you, there's a lot. I hate to say this, but there are a lot of bad teams in the NFL.
Oh yeah,
but here's
some good teams as well, and there's very little in the middle, which is not what the NFL always used to be, a league of parity. We've not seen that parity.
Exactly. Green Bay, Minnesota is interesting because this is another division game. Minnesota's a 1.5-point home favorite.
Yeah.
This could be a very telling game. Minnesota is a very, very good team if they have quarterbacking. They didn't have it.
They may be the equivalent, though not to the same extent, of the Houston Texans in the AFC, with an outstanding defense, and at least on the surface coming into this year, we don't know how Kyler Murray is going to do, but I won't say pedestrian, but maybe a middle-of-the-road offense.
I tell you, if Murray can play, he's never had this kind of talent around him.
Yeah.
Okay. Now his work ethic has always been in question, et cetera, but this is probably it for him.
Yeah.
And now Minnesota definitely needs to do something about their quarterback position behind, Murray.
Yeah.
But because
McCarthy.
JJ just doesn't look like a quarterback that belongs in the league. That's an interesting game. I think the final game here on Sunday the 13th is very interesting.
Yes.
Dallas is favored 2.5 or 3 at
on the road.
The Giants.
Yeah.
Now the Giants have an interesting situation. They got a brand new head coach who's got tremendous background, tremendous experience, and great success coming from Baltimore up to New York. And boy, you talk about the Giants have a quarterback issue. Dart is, everybody now just calls him Blue Tent.
Yeah.
This guy can't avoid getting hit and sent to the Blue Tent. he's got to either learn. He's got to learn how to not get hit, because this is unbelievable. Even in his first game, even in the preseason, he went in the bullpen.
You know, the one thing about the Giants, and he gets a bad rap because sometimes I think it's been coaching. I do not mind Jameis Winston as a backup.
Well,
First of all, he's a great clubhouse influence everywhere he's been. Okay, the players love him, and you know, he played well in the preseason, the couple of games that we saw. But I think he's getting better coaching than he's had early in his career, making the mistakes. And then Brandon Allen, who looked okay when he came in the other day. I like the Giants this year. I'm not sure if it'll gel immediately, but I think the Giants are, again, one of those teams that, unless things go horribly in the first 6-7 games, I think that team will be a moneymaker over the second half of the season and possibly even early.
Let me ask you this about the Giants. Now, last year, we know the Dallas Cowboys offense was unbelievable. They could score a ton of points, but their defense was the opposite. They give up a ton of points.
Right.
Sort of
they
like
addressed that they addressed that nicely in the offseason.
Yeah. I think they improved their defense. Their offense just looks tremendous. How is the Giants' defense?
Very good pass rush. Linebacking is good. The questions, I think, are in the secondary, and that could be their vulnerability against that Dallas offense with CeeDee Lamb and Pickens and Prescott and a good running game.
Yeah, I mean, and they have
early on at least.
I
don't know about the rematch when they meet. When do they meet? I think they meet second to last week of the season.
I mean, Dallas has got to be a co-favorite with the Eagles to win this division.
Yes.
So, this
Eagles still favored, but not by as much as many people would have thought behind, ahead of Dallas.
And and we don't even know if Dart will play for the Giants, because this kid's very likely at any point be in a blue tent and have a concussion.
Yeah, in the NFC East, let's see. Washington is plus 500, Dallas plus 200, Eagles plus 145, Giants also plus 500. So a clear gap between 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and only a 55-cent gap between the known quantity, the Eagles at plus 145, 55-cent gap, and the number 2 expected upcomers, the Cowboys.
Okay, what do we got here? We got the Monday games. The calendar here is wrong. This is all backwards here. Okay, they doubled it up. Okay.
Only one Monday night game this year. No, on the opening week, no doubleheader. I think they eliminated that.
Denver, Kansas City.
Yeah.
Now this is a very interesting game to talk about. Denver had a really good defense last year. They did pretty well. They played the game against New England without a quarterback, basically, and had no experience at quarterback, and they easily could have been in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And it just didn't work out. But Kansas City is opened a 2.5 point favorite, and they are basically 2.5 point favorite still, with a little bit more juice on them. So 2.5 minus 20 or 15 or something like that. So, but
by the way, just as a quick recap, that AFC playoff game was a 16-3. It was a 10-7 New England win, and the total yards, I think Denver had 181 and New England 206. So it was really the lack of the Denver offense. If you give up 10 points in a playoff game, you should win that probably 95 times out of 100. They
did not have their quarterback.
Right. Bo Nix, was out.
Yeah, and the quarterback, the backup, didn't have a whole lot of experience.
Yeah.
It's even questionable that New England should have beaten Houston or should have beaten Denver, and they got to the Super Bowl. Yeah. Obviously, they weren't much of a. And that team, those two teams are playing again to start the season. But last year, they were not equal teams. They were in the Super Bowl, yes, but Seattle was a much better football team.
Well, and again, there was another defense that the Patriots went up against that was a very strong defense in Seattle.
Coming off a very soft schedule.
Patriots, yes.
Yes. So Kansas City, what do you expect from them? We got the Mahomes injury. You got a lot of older players. They've had issues on the offensive line. They've had issues at wide receiver. They picked up a running back that should help. The offensive line has got to improve a lot to protect Mahomes and to open holes for the running back.
Well, one thing we will hear about as the handicappers start talking into week one is the poor record of Sean Payton in the first 2 games of the season. I think since he took over in 2023 with Denver, 23, 24, and 25, they are 1-5 straight up, and I believe 1-5 against the spread in games 1 and 2 of the season. I didn't go back to see how he did it with New Orleans, but I think he also struggled opening in the season. So I don't know if it's a case of lack of preparation or maybe a lack of timing, but now you're going up against, I'm expecting Mahomes to play. He's that kind of player. He's ahead of schedule. He's been cleared to, practice. I don't think we'll see him in game 3, but I haven't read anything about that yet. It's only Tuesday. Andy Reid, an outstanding coach for, probably close to 30 years now, beginning with his stint in Philadelphia, and he continued that over and he actually excelled. Mahomes had a lot to do with it since he came to Kansas City about 11, 12 years ago. And Spagnuolo, always known as an outstanding defensive coach. I know they had some changes on defense, but again, they're not going up against an outstanding quarterback in Bo Nix, but a capable quarterback. He's shown in his 2 years in the league that he can certainly move the offense. I know that I think a lot of the so-called wise guys, and I'm not sure the big money wise guys, but a lot of the sharp wise guys will probably look to grab a 3 when it shows up at Denver. I'm not sure, given all the intangibles, although let's say there are intangibles for Denver. I mean, you lose to New England in the playoffs, that keeps you from the Super Bowl. That's a pretty strong motivator. But I don't know who has a stronger individual motivation ability than Patrick Mahomes. I don't want to go against him in the opener.
Well,
at home against the division rival who beat him twice last year.
We all have to remember that these players change from years to years. They get a little older, they get a little fatter, their bankrolls get heavier. The media gets all over them for doing press conferences and podcasts and all kinds of stuff. So things change. We can't look at them from one year to the next and expect the same kind of performance.
Yeah.
But
by the way, I'll mention one thing: missing the playoffs last year for Kansas City may have been a welcome relief after playing. You're not looking at it. Yeah, all the extra. They probably played over the 6 or 7 year run, the equivalent of almost a full season, if not longer, in playoff games.
That is true. A lot of people don't talk about that. That is very true.
Yeah.
We have, let's touch on baseball a little bit because we're kind of running long, and then maybe the WNBA and that league. I love the play. I think they play so hard, and there's a lot of talent, but their management is so screwed up. I've never seen anything like it. Now there's this controversy allowing men, even ex-professional NBA players, to come and now enter the draft to get in the WNBA. It's absurd.
I can't think of something that is dumber than that. I'm not trying very hard, but I probably have to try very hard to find something that
I don't know the commissioner of that league, but everything I read is not good. Yeah. So it's not good. There's something has to be done because that league is exploding. Anyway, baseball. We're down to baseball. American League's got a lot of average talent, a lot of people in the mix. to
Yeah.
get there, to make the playoffs, to do well. The biggest surprise, I think, the fact that the Dodgers are not the Dodgers everybody expected them to be. And
No.
there's a lot of competition.
Keep an eye on Milwaukee, who took
Yes.
3 out of 4 in LA, 2 weekends ago. That team's got a lot of confidence and playoff experience. And they got they've got the likely Cy Young Award winner in Mizorowski, Jacob Mizorowski.
It would be interesting to have some new blood in the playoffs and some more excitement, because I don't think it's good for any sport to have the same team win all the time. And that's when college football became more interesting, when you stop talking about Alabama being the champion every year. And now you got the Indiana, and you say, okay, where did that come from? One came from the nil and the portal, and that's going to continue, because
3 straight Big Ten teams are national champions.
That's right.
Michigan, Ohio State, Indiana.
You got some good teams this year. You got the Miami's the possibility, Oregon's a possibility, Indiana.
Notre Dame.
Them. Notre Dame. A lot of people love Notre Dame, but a lot of people love these other teams, Miami and Oregon as well.
Yeah.
It's more fun for everybody.
By the way, let me just get back to baseball for a minute. Look at the wild card standings, okay? The 3 division leaders: Tampa Bay, White Sox, Rangers, and White Sox 5 games over, Texas even record, and Tampa Bay is 25 over. Look at the wild cards, okay? 5 teams in each division. The number 1 wild card, Yankees from the AL East. Number 2, the Red Sox from the AL East. Then you got Cleveland. Then you go down a little bit. The Blue Jays and the Orioles are 2 games and 2.5 games, both AL East teams, out of the final the final wild card spot, currently held by the Guardians. And Blue Jays 4th place, 4 games under. Orioles 5 games behind. 5 games under, right behind, and that includes a lot of games within the division. This AL East is incredibly strong when you look at the fact that their last place team is only 5 games out of 4th place when you compare that to the other divisions.
It is interesting. But bottom line is college football starts this week.
For real.
And
I do like one game.
What is it?
I think I alluded to it. The Dublin game with North Carolina and
TCU.
TCU anywhere from a 6.5 to a 7.5 point favorite. These teams, this game I think was originally a TCU home game, and they moved it to Dublin. Last year, Bill Belichick's opening game as coach of North Carolina, 48-14, they lost. It was an embarrassing loss. It was his first year at any position in college football. He was always an assistant or a head coach in the NFL. No experience at college, so he was learning. Before that, TCU is clearly the better team. But these games, overseas games that start the season, Dublin, I think, has been a home for a lot of them, have been historically very close games. So the points, to me, are worth taking, especially with Belichick, who obviously was embarrassed last year by the entire season, and especially the way the season started at home against TCU. I think they ended up going 4-8 on the season. I don't know how much improved they're going to be this year, but I think knowing Belichick's work ethic. Now, I don't know how long how that work ethic has been in the offseason when he's been going out on dates with his granddaughter? No, Jordan Hudson. I think she's like 24, 25. And he's early 70s. But no, seriously, I don't know if he put in the kind of work that he's normally been known for in the offseason. My guess is probably yes, simply because of the embarrassment he had to feel in his first year. Although, to be fair, he was unfamiliar with the college game at almost every level, other than talking to scouts when it came to the draft. So given the history, given the coaching involved, and I do like Sonny Dykes of TCU, a really good coach, had good success wherever he's been. I'm waiting to see if an 8 shows up. Otherwise, I'll be happy with 7.5.
There's an 8 that Fanatics.
Fanatics, yeah.
Fanatics. There's an 8 there. There's
not available. Yeah, not available.
A lot of 7.5s with high juice.
Yeah.
That you could grab an 8 and pay a little extra there.
Yeah.
Because it did open 6.5. It's 7.5 everywhere except Fanatics.
I will be interested to see how our local team, UNLV, going up against Memphis from the American Athletic Conference, and UNLV I saw opened at 3 to 4 in a lot of places. It's up to 4.5 in a couple of places. All of a sudden, 3 straight winning seasons and nice bowl seasons for our Rebels. So Dan Mullen, who succeeded the coach now at Purdue, Barry Odom, he's done a nice job at building up this program. And of course, the Mountain West is going to have a totally different look this year with a lot of the really good teams in this conference now going to the reconstituted Pac-12.
Well, I'm glad there's some stability beginning to form there. That's good. Yeah. Andy, we're at the end of this one. I want to thank you for all the help you were this summer doing these Dom DeMarco shows online with me.
I've enjoyed it with you. Absolutely.
Really appreciate that. I want you to come on the show at Dom's. We're doing it every Wednesday, 9785 West Charleston, Dom DeMarco's. Great Italian food. I was there yesterday. Can't beat it. And it was packed. Everybody loves the Italian food there. Albert Scali, it's the owner, proprietor. Yeah. We shoot the show on Wednesday at noon. Most of the time in the patio, unless there's bad weather, then we have to move inside.
Usually goes an hour, correct?
45 minutes, 48 minutes, something like that. You know. Yeah, so we will be there next Wednesday at noon, and Andy, we're going to schedule you in to come in and be one of the guests.
I'll look forward to that. Probably sometime either late September or early to mid October.
Okay, and I want to thank everybody for tuning in, watching the show. We enjoy doing it. Andy's been great, and I really appreciate you, Andy, for doing that.
And I appreciate the opportunity.
I'm going to be meeting up with you next week to get into these contests that we talked about.
All right, we can arrange a nice time. I know it's about the same distance from the west side of town as it is from the east side of town to where we meet just east of the Strip. My preference, and we can go over this, is to meet in the morning.
Well,
before the traffic and before the heat.
I can understand that. I'm good for that. But how do we fit in the lunch that we did the last time?
We meet probably at about 10:30.
Okay. Thanks, Andy. We'll talk to you later.
And then
What's that? What we saying?
Yes.
Okay. Thanks, Andy. Thanks, everybody, for listening.